Welcome back to the program. A Conservative-backed motion, which has spiraled into a confidence motion at the order of the Liberals, has just been defeated. So no federal election. But what happens now? How do the Conservatives and other opposition parties hold the Liberals' feet to the fire on other issues, including the WE controversy? Let's bring in the Deputy Conservative Leader Candice Bergen to discuss this. Great to have you back on the program. First of all, your reaction to the vote when you saw that the NDP were supporting the Liberals. What was your reaction?
Well, I don't think we're surprised. The NDP were in a difficult situation. Nobody wanted an election except the government. So the NDP, I guess, made the decision that they felt they needed to, and probably a question you'd want to pose to them.
Which I just did, and they say they want to get things done. Where does it go from here? Will your party try to reintroduce another motion to create some kind of super committee to look into WE? Is that you lost this one, it's over, you go back to the Finance Committee, the Ethics Committee, and the existing committees?
Well, we've got to go and look at what our options are, but what Canadians can count on is Conservatives won't rest until we get these answers. It's clear that the Liberals and the Prime Minister have things to hide. The fact that they would go to the measures that they have, it's clear that there's a lot more going on. So we're going to continue. And, there's other things that we want to get information about. We have an important motion tomorrow on the floor of the House of Commons around getting documents and information around the approach to the pandemic. Some very important questions around rapid testing or why the early pandemic warning system was shut down. So we hope that we'll get support and that motion will pass and we can get information for Canadians and make sure that Canadians get the best results.
Candice Bergen, on that, so this is Michelle Rempel, the health critic's motion on the health documents. Pablo Rodriguez, the Liberal House Leader, just before our program was asked about that. He said there's many things to consider, so I don't know, and the Liberals have not indicated whether or not they will designate that a confidence motion. But let me just go back, because I just had a conversation with the NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh. The Conservatives, your party keeps saying, without this super committee, we'll never get answers. But why not? The Finance Committee, the Ethics Committee, I mean, look, the Ethics Committee is not even chaired by a Liberal. Why can't those committees, they've already had the power to get the Prime Minister to testify, the former Finance Minister, deputy ministers, bureaucrats, chief of staff. You've got documents. I know many of them are redacted, but why can't those committees just flex their own muscles and do it? What's the need for this big super committee?
Well, there are a lot of reasons, Evan. And first of all, you mentioned the documents. They were massively redacted. There was so much information that was taken out, that was withheld from parliamentarians. The Prime Minister prorogued Parliament. He used the mechanisms that he could in order to stop the committees. Then when the committees were reestablished, we've seen over the last few days the massive filibustering and the Liberals who have been trying to eat up time and avoid having the important questions come to a vote. So, the problem is the Liberals are doing everything that they can to avoid accountability. And so on the WE issue is one issue, but there are other issues, including their response to this pandemic. So it's just very troubling to see their response and to see the lengths that they're going to go to avoid scrutiny.
Right, but I don't think you answered my question. My question was, why can't the existing committees, the Ethics Committee not chaired by a Liberal, the Finance Committee, why can't they get those answers? Like, what is the need to have this big super committee? It doesn't seem to me that it would have much more power than working with the NDP and the Bloc and getting those access to exactly the information that all your opposition parties want. It doesn't seem contingent on this one thing that has sparked so much parliamentary gamesmanship.
Well, I think I did answer your question. We are not getting the answers in these committees. And one of the excuses is that each one of these committees wants to get back to the business. For example, the Finance Committee looking at the finances of the country. Our reason, and we had support from other opposition parties, our reason for wanting this special committee set up to deal with corruption in government was so that it could focus solely on the weak controversy, and other committees could do other really important work. Don't forget, Parliament has been not only shut down because of the pandemic, it has been prorogued because the Prime Minister said he needed to prorogue. So, and when we saw the outcome of that. So at every turn, the Liberals try to and have been succeeding in shutting down and not answering questions. So we proposed a committee. We've proposed committees before. Those motions have passed and good committees have been established. So this wasn't some far-fetched, crazy idea. It's a very practical idea. It's actually opposition doing our job. But we saw the lengths that Trudeau and the Liberals will go to avoid scrutiny. Okay. And it really shows arrogance and entitlement.
Fair point, by the way, on the prorogation. Fair point on the filibuster. I get all that. I'm just trying to, now that this one has failed, the NDP have proposed a committee. The Conservatives have proposed a committee, and the Liberals have all proposed a committee. Now, there's differences, I understand it, but just seems like unreasonable people could get together, and if you all seem to want a single committee to look into this stuff, great. Will the Conservatives come back with another committee, try to work with the Bloc, the NDP, and the Liberals, and try to get another committee together on this very issue, or is it done?
Listen, I think that we would be able to work with the NDP, with the Bloc, to try to come up with a committee that would get answers to the questions that we have. I don't have faith in the Liberals' goodwill when it comes to this. I think there's a lot of concern that should this be a committee about the pandemic spending $343 billion, that we would end up with boxes and boxes and boxes of documents dumped on this committee from the Liberals, and they'd say, look, there's your documents, have at it, which would be pretty disingenuous because there are very specific questions that opposition have around the WE scandal. So bottom line, we don't trust the Liberals when it comes to trying to get answers around their scandal. And I think it's evident the extent that they'll go to cover up. But sure, we'd be happy to keep working with the NDP and the Bloc, the opposition parties, to get a committee established that will get the answers that Canadians deserve to have.
All right. Well, we'll find out what the next proposal is. Meantime, I just want to remind Canadians, the Ethics Committee and the Finance Committee are still at work here. So it's not like this thing is buried and gone away. It's just not going very fast. Deputy Conservative Leader Candice Bergen, always great to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you.